Happy championship weekend here in college football. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. At halftime, Baylor leads Oklahoma 13-10. Welcome in. I will take your calls at 860-325-3687. I will also check out the live chat as well, as the Baylor Bears have come back from 10 down to take a 13-10 lead. So between the second half of the regular season game in Waco and the first quarter of this game, it appeared as though Oklahoma might blow Baylor out of the building, having scored 28 consecutive points in Waco, and then the first 10 points of this game, the Sooners on a 38-0 run before Baylor came back. And so we will review the first half. I've got plenty of notes, interesting stuff over the first half of the Big 12 championship game. Please lock it in here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, for the very best in discussion, debate, and analysis. And of course, I will get to your comments and questions very soon, and plenty of comments to that Dabo Sweeney post I made. And then we had a follow-up post with Pigskin Pete, and I will respond to the haters out there concerning my comments to Dabo Sweeney and his rant after the South Carolina game. But it's all about championship weekend here. And again, I will get to the live chat comments very soon. Oklahoma looked like they might run away with this game early on, not just because they raced out to a 10-0 lead. 10 points in the Big 12 with these two offenses is next to nothing, just in regards to their defensive pressure, their intensity. They were sharp on both sides of the ball early, and Baylor was not. And Baylor physically looked overwhelmed the first 5 to 6 drives of the game. Oklahoma put up 121 yards in the first 2 drives, and I saw a stat near the end of the first half, 17 plays ran by the Sooners there in the second quarter, 25 yards on 17 plays. And of course, Baylor scores 13 straight points after Oklahoma scored 10 or 38 straight going back to the second half in Waco. Quickly to review what happened last night in the Pac-12 championship game. Hopefully you got my prediction. You would have been in great shape in both accounts. My preseason prediction was Oregon would defeat Utah in the Pac-12 championship game. That one was made the last week of August. And then also I had predicted there at the Voice of College Football Community, the links in the description section of any of the videos, that Oregon as a 6-point underdog would win straight up against Utah. And of course, the Ducks dominated the game 37-15. They were out to a quick 20-0 lead. Utah cut it to 23-15, had a bit of a spurt there in the third quarter early to make it 23-15. Justin Herbert ran the ball as kind of a theme in that game. That was the curveball that Mario Cristobal and Oregon threw the Utah defense, was Justin Herbert being used as a running threat in the game, and that proved very costly for Utah. Their offensive line was overwhelmed by the defensive front of Oregon, losing 37-15. So Utah is out, the Pac-12's out, and this makes it very clear-cut in regards to the winner of this game. If LSU wins, we've got our playoff 1 through 4. But of course, if Georgia wins and then has to be compared to the winner of this game, especially if it's the Oklahoma Sooners, then we've got an argument, a debate, and we'll do it right here, of course. I will go live on Sunday after the selections, or maybe during the selections. I will announce that a little bit later when I determine whether that should be after the selections or during the selections. And let me take your comments after I remind everyone that I will take calls during halftime here. 860-325-3687. Appalachian State leading right now 35-14 over Louisiana. That game around the halftime mark. Again, if you got my predictions on this one, I picked App State to cover the spread. We'll see if they do. But right now, looking good, up 21, up 18 as Louisiana has scored a field goal just before half. App's up 35-17 at the half. Please lock it in if you love college football. Subscribe. This is the place to be, in addition to your other outlets, but this is the place to be, one of the many, or one of the few, actually, one of the few. Let's not say there's many folks out there that really know what they're talking about and cover college football well. One of the few places you need to be. All right, let's check out the comments. Navy Thomas, right out of the gate. Well, Utah, and now one more of the Big 12 will get flushed from the college football playoff. Very true. Navy Thomas coming back. A winner of the Big 12 will go to fifth. Flop job, 2 SECs. Yes, 2 SECs if Georgia wins. And Oklahoma, in particular, doesn't win decidedly, which, of course, they're not right now. Nate, great to see you. What's up with you as well, Nate? We appreciate your contribution. Navy Thomas, everyone else that's on the line right now. Ben, in the tree stand watching the game, switched over to watch your update. This is the big update right here, and I got plenty of notes. We'll see if I can get to them, but your comments are more important. But I will be posting instant analysis of this game, the Big 12 championship game, the SEC championship game, and the Big 10 championship game for sure, and maybe the ACC. And certainly if Virginia gives us anything to talk about, I will post instant analysis. I've got a DVR running on every game, and we will get to them. And, of course, my top 25 that actually makes sense, and my Final Four before you see the Final Four. I hesitate when I say that, but it is the Final Four from the selection committee tomorrow at noon Eastern time. Nate, yes, your Wolverines are not playing this weekend, of course. Andrew, this game makes the Big 12 look bad. How can defense look this bad in a 13-10 game? I was going to note, and this was even before this Big 12 championship game with just a 13-10 score at half. We make fun of Big 12 defense, and I'm at the front of that line. So it has deserved being made fun of for years and years and years and years. Ever since Oklahoma and Texas stopped playing defense in the mid-2000s, and that's what's funny is Bob Stoops won his first national championship in 2000 with a defense that shut out a multi-talented Florida State squad, shut them out in the Big 12 in the national championship game. Oklahoma was built on defense by Bob Stoops, and then there was this morphing of the program from defense to offense, and the entire conference from a fairly defensive-heavy conference with the emergence of teams like Oklahoma State leading with offense, and it's been ever since an offensive conference. But wake up. Let's open our eyes and see what's going on right now. It may not be scintillating defense. It might be a lack of offense, but the point production in the Big 12 is not 52-49, 48-45 every week. These games are not being played in that stratosphere of point scoring anymore. I was going to do an analysis on this, but it would just take too much time in terms of running the metrics. I'll do it in the off season with all of our other analysis of the 2019 season. I'm going to run the points and also the advanced metrics on the offensive production in the Big 12, or if you want to look at the flip side, the defensive efficiency in the Big 12 versus the other conferences. We are seeing just as many points scored in the other conferences as we are in the Big 12 right now, and this is just a prime example of it. Go through the scores in the Big 12 in Big 12 games. Baylor just beat Texas 24-10 2 weeks ago. Oklahoma beat Texas 34-27, an average college football score. And on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Kansas State and Iowa State played a 27-17 game last week. Baylor beat TCU 29-23 in overtime. They went to overtime, I believe, at 20-20. So, Henry asks, do you think the top four will remain the same today, or will the Big 12 get that number 4 spot? Your opinion. Well, of course, this kind of is all my opinion. And then, of course, I invite your opinion as well. So, Henry, first of all, my game predictions you can find at the Voice of College Football Community. But, hey, why not? I'll let them out right now. I predicted Oregon to win last night. Outright. I predicted Oklahoma to win this game, but took Baylor with the 9 points. I will stay with that prediction of Oklahoma winning this game. I am predicting Georgia to win in an upset over LSU. I pick Ohio State, Wisconsin with the points, but Ohio State to win the game tonight and Clemson to win. Therefore, there's going to be a decision to be made between Oklahoma and Georgia/LSU. We are going to see a college football playoff in that scenario in which the western half of the United States is going to get shut out. Ohio State, Clemson the 2, Georgia the 3, LSU the 4. That would be how it would stack up. But what a debate we would have with Oklahoma being left out, or Baylor. Let's not discount Baylor. They are up 3 at halftime. But because of the atrociously weak non-conference schedule for Baylor, Oklahoma's non-conference slate is not much to talk about either. UCLA, Houston. But for Baylor, it's no one. Nate rooting for the Bears. Maybe Thomas. Maybe the Big 12 will only get to 6th now. 5th, 6th. It doesn't matter. Andrew, I don't think any of these teams could beat Wisconsin, Florida, or Penn State. Any of these teams. Are we talking about the 2 teams playing right now? I believe that before we saw Utah lose last night, people were talking about Utah being on the same level of Clemson, LSU, and Ohio State. And when I say some people, I mean national analysts that I watch from time to time. And I don't believe that's the case. And then it somewhat proved itself out last night. I think LSU, Clemson, and Ohio State are the 3 best teams in the country. And I'll make my analysis on Georgia. That will be self-evident to the rest of us, whether they can play with those 3. We'll get a huge indication of that this afternoon in just about 2 hours. And then beyond that, forget the standings, forget the wins and the losses, just based on what we can see watching the teams play and know of the talent on the field. Baylor may earn its way into the college football playoff today, but who would you take in a game, Alabama or Baylor? I wouldn't have to think about it. I take Alabama if they're on a neutral field. If Alabama was on this field right now with a backup quarterback, I would take them to beat Baylor. And I would give some points. I would probably give up to 10. All right, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, 860-325-3687. I'll get to the rest of the live chat. And, of course, we will return to the game, but they're still messing around with all sorts of Dr. Pepper contests right now. There's your number, 860-325-3687. Yes, BW, the most Pac-12 thing ever. So I will have to say I called this one both preseason, but also a few weeks ago when Oregon and Utah were on that collision course with 1 loss. I said, circle your calendar. Oregon at Arizona State, circle it. There's your upset. The upsets are coming somewhere. There's not going to be a ton of them, and there haven't been, but that's the one. So Oregon went to Arizona State. They dropped that one, and then they turned around and they beat Utah. That's what we predicted a few weeks ago. Who's number 4? Well, Steve, those are 2 different questions. Who's number 4 in regards to what's going to happen, or who should be number 4 based on who's the 4th best team in the country? Well, no, neither one of these teams is the 4th best team in the country. The 4 best teams in the country are playing in the SEC, the Big Ten, and Clemson. Those are the 4 best teams in the country. But what is deserved and what is rewarded or earned are different things. I would like to see conference champions play in the college football playoff. Otherwise, we should disband the conferences. Michael thinks Auburn's the 4th best team in the country. I don't think they're quite that good, but I think Auburn's awfully good. They have always been the highest rated team with the number of losses that they've had in my top 25. That actually makes sense. I had Auburn number 1 for the first few weeks of the season until they lost a game. I've had LSU at number 1 ever since BW, go live all day. I want to watch football, BW. So what we're going to do is I'm live right now. I got my boy coming over with food. So I've got my boy coming over for the second half of this game with food. I will do post game of the Big 12. I may cut in for a halftime of the SEC championship game while we keep an eye on the American Conference. Of course, the group of 5 bid is up for grabs and appears to be just a winner-take-all between Memphis and Cincinnati. We outlined that. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying all of our game previews. I try to get out as many as I possibly could this week. I hit Wisconsin, Ohio State, the American Championship game, the MAC Championship game that's going on right now. We went all over the place. The Pac-12, the Big 12, the SEC. Saban should be fired. Nate, what are we talking about? What are we talking about here? Oh, this is what happens, folks. Sometimes the stream of comments gets discombobulated, if you can only see what I see. Okra Joe. So I guess Auburn knocked 2 teams out of the playoffs. They knocked out Oregon, and they knocked out, who are we talking about? Alabama. Sure, maybe. Yeah, DJ Bucci. I've had LSU number 1 for a long, long time, way before everyone else. Unless there's some dude in LSU somewhere in Louisiana, somewhere in Baton Rouge. I'm sure that's had them number 1 for the last 5 years. Henry, I agree. Whoever gets to be number 4 is going to get destroyed in the first round. Well, I got to see the matchups. The Iron Wolverine pulling for Central Michigan in the MAC championship game. The last score that we saw was 7-7. I am DVRing the MAC championship game. I don't know if I'll get around to it. How many championship games do we have today? 9 championship games today. So, of course, I am going to be watching for sure. I've seen every play of the Big 12 championship game. I will watch every play of the SEC and the Big 10. The ACC will be on a second screen, and I will be fascinated to see if Virginia can hang. I have taken the 28.5 points. I would love for you folks to make it over to Patreon for our Voice of College Football community. Join us on Patreon. You can grab the link in the description section of any of the videos. And it's not all about my predictions. I am not an odds maker or a handicapper, but I do predict football games pretty well. 58% against the spread. We hit on the Oregon game last night, +6 and straight up. I've got Baylor +9 right now. And again, 58% against the spread, 78% straight up, which actually might be better than that because I went 18-2 straight up last week and then got last night's game correct. But more than that is we've got an offer there that per your request, and I had 20 to 25 people reach out to me and tell me this is what you would like to see, is that we have an exclusive live stream offer over there in which I've got a weekly offer to do an exclusive live stream with you. I know that this live stream's with you, but I mean really with you. Bring you on to talk college football. So please consider it for the contribution that you make right here. All right, Andrew. The teams 2-4 in the Big 10 and the SEC would knock them around. Probably. We will get to that in the offseason, but we can certainly talk about that during the gap that we have. This is what I'm going to prepare to do once we got those bowl selections. Of course, we're going to preview all of the bowl games, and concerning the major teams, we'll hit it from both angles. So if Michigan's playing USC, we'll get the Michigan perspective on the bowl game, the Holiday Bowl, for example, and the USC perspective. I try to do that with all the big games as we prepare to kick off, and I didn't even get to my notes, but we'll do instant analysis after the game. But I'm going to do a bowl history on every bowl game, and I'm going to do a series history, I think, on every game. That's pretty aggressive. Oklahoma kicking off down 13-10. And again, I am just so impressed with Baylor coming back, showing such resilience in the second quarter. And what about this James Lynch, the player of the year defensively in the Big 12, just putting on the pass rush near the end of the second quarter, coming up with some huge plays. MMA Buds, which New Year's Six Bowls will be best? Sugar and Rose, and looking good. We will see the matchups come out tomorrow. Then we will tell you. Maybe I'll rank all the bowl games. Should I do that? I'll rank all the bowl games. Navy Thomas, I think Baylor has a better defense than Oklahoma. Well, they certainly looked like it in the second quarter. Great pass rush. And this kid Bohannon has come into the game in place of Charlie Brewer, and we hope Charlie Brewer's fine, but Bohannon is playing better than Charlie Brewer was. He had some jitters early out of the chute and made some missed throws, but Bohannon has settled down, and his touchdown throw was a thing of beauty. He threaded the needle, got it right over the linebacker who had dropped all the way to the end zone, got it to Tyquan Thornton. So Bohannon's playing extremely well. Henry, those were good picks. I think LSU wins and Big 12 winner gets in, but who knows? Yeah, LSU's better than Georgia. They're a more complete team, but I am going to go with my preseason prediction here. I'm going to stay with Georgia. McD, I don't think 11-2 teams should be in the playoffs or less. There's less than, whatever. Okay, McD, it depends on the situations. Why is there a difference? Why is there an automatic cutoff between 1-loss teams and 2-loss teams? Why don't we make the cutoff between 0-loss teams and 1-loss teams? What is so magical about the next loss that we couldn't have an 11-2 team make the playoff? I don't see the logic. Why don't we just have 0-loss teams make it? And Bohannon should not have thrown that pass, but he got away with it. MMA Buds, if Baylor wins, they will have won the rematch in their only loss, similar to what Oregon did the first year of the playoff. And similar, yes, against Arizona, winning 51-13 in the Pac-12 championship game, and similar to what OU did last year against Texas after losing by 3 in the regular season. Nate's a Michigan fan. I'll root for my foes, the Buckeyes. I just have a feeling. Navy, actually, at my review, Georgia wins. Only knock LSU 4th. Georgia still a bump down. Luigi Green, 843 with Baylor punting. Yeah, man, there are better teams out there, but you can't keep a 1-loss conference champ out for a 2-loss and non-conference champ. Who's going to be a 2-loss non-conference champ? I guess Georgia? No, we're not going to do that. I don't think the committee would do. The committee won't do that. But the argument here is going to be a 1-loss conference champ against possibly a 1-loss non-conference champ. Who has Bama beat, Mark? I'm not talking about who Bama has beaten or not beaten. I'm just talking about how I analyze the teams. Yes, I base my rankings, and I think teams need to earn their way into the playoff. In 2017, Bama didn't beat hardly anyone, and they got selected. Ohio State beat a bunch of good teams. Alabama did not, but they did not have the horrible loss, so they got in. I'm just telling you that I would take Alabama to beat Baylor. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that they deserve it. That's not what I'm talking about. Baylor deserves, they have earned a playoff spot if they win this game. But Alabama's a better team than Baylor, in my estimation. Memphis has a better win than Bama does. Memphis best win. Cincinnati better than Texas A&M or Tennessee. That's arguable. I would take Texas A&M on a neutral field against Cincinnati. Henry, this year Alabama shouldn't even be mentioned in the same conversation. No, they shouldn't be. They're done. Florida should be above Auburn. They are, in my rankings at least, and I don't know what the rankings are. I forget what they are for the College Football Playoff Committee. Where are you guys? What else do we need to see? Luigi Green, Florida State with Norvell will be serious. Yeah, we will have much to say about that. Scott Reams, good to see you. Kyle with his campaign. This is going to get serious, Kyle. It's only December now. We've got 11 months. But, man, your campaign here is going to get serious. I'm going to have to shave more often, and I'm going to have to comb my hair more often. I'm going to have to do those things to present the right image, Kyle. But your campaign, which started a long time ago, it's going to start to get serious as we gun for November, Kyle. Cincinnati should be in the MAC. Nice Guy TV. Love this game as well. If we're talking college football, if we're loving this particular game, Jalen Hurts throwing over the middle, and Oklahoma's inside the 30, down 3. And everyone stay with me here. Let's get through the comments. Then I'm going to lock in. Kyle, mark my preseason prediction for LSU is the best team this season. I recall stating that back in week 4. Kyle, if you've got a record of it, that's phenomenal. I don't know. Oregon, Penn State, fantastic Rose Bowl. Should be. Scott, this is something that we will talk about following the bowl selections. I love the bowl games. I love the bowl games. Yes, it's ridiculous when 5 and 7 and 6 and 6 teams make bowl games. But if you don't like them, just don't watch them. We're not going to talk. We've got championship games going on right now. We're not going to talk about the bowl games right now. That would make no sense. Nate, Franklin should be at the Rose. MMA. So then the Georgia versus loser, or yeah. Yes, the loser of Oklahoma Baylor would take on Georgia if they lose the SEC championship game in the Sugar Bowl. That is most likely the matchup. It's Big 12 SEC champions if they don't make the playoff. Oklahoma with a run up the middle. All right. I guess since I'm giving my picks away free this week, do I have a score prediction for LSU Georgia just for fun? Well, it's not just for fun. This is serious stuff, Henry. It's my reputation that's on the line. I've been picking these college football games since 1982. Every game. Yeah, it's just for fun. Georgia. Georgia 34, LSU 31. Let's understand, as I mention this all the time, the best team does not always win the games. 20 to 25% of the games played in the top 25 this season or any season are upsets. So LSU may beat Georgia 7 times out of 10, but that does not mean that Georgia is not very capable of winning the game today. And therefore, I'm predicting them to win the game. So a lot of people then say, you think Georgia's better than LSU? I will know a lot more after I watch them play. But as it stands right now, I don't believe that. But I think Georgia will win the game. Am I going to be shocked if LSU wins again? Of course not. I think LSU should win 55% of the time, 60% of the time against Georgia. But I'm predicting Georgia to win this one time. There's a difference. That's why when we compare teams on here, and we do this all the time, we bring out the big board, the whiteboard. I rarely say, okay, Michigan, Oklahoma, who wins that game? What I generally ask is Michigan, Oklahoma, who wins 10 times? They're going to play 10 times. Who's going to win that game in a 10-game series? Oklahoma, 7-3. Instead of saying Oklahoma's going to win, because you know what? If Oklahoma played Michigan, and I'm just stating those teams, don't read into that. I don't know. They're only going to play once. Kyle, Mark, you just flipped my score prediction. I apologize if I did. Oh, I flipped your score prediction to my prediction. Got it. I did not see that. Would you get rid of bowl affiliations to increase the possible attractive matchups? No, there is tradition tied with the SEC playing in the Sugar, the Big Ten and the Pac 12 in the Rose, and the Orange Bowl going to the ACC. I would stay with that. Although the ACC Orange Bowl affiliation is quite weak and is not steeped in tradition. That was a Big 8, then Big 12 game going to the Orange Bowl. The Big 12 with the Cotton Bowl. So the Southwest Conference to the Cotton Bowl way back. So no, I wouldn't completely disband that because we are looking for the best matchups, but we're also looking, the bowls are tradition. They're not being played to win championships. It's completely separate from the championship invitational, not really a playoff, invitational, those teams that are invited to play for the championship. So it's separate. So it doesn't have to be so restricted to number 5 plays number 6, 7 plays 8, 9 plays 10. That might produce the best matchups, but I think we should keep some semblance of tradition. I want to see a Big Ten team play a Pac-12 team in the Rose Bowl. I want to see the SEC play in the Sugar Bowl, etc. Everyone wants Texas and Texas A&M, and I agree that would be fun. Why does Virginia get to make an important bowl game? They would be the 2 seed in the ACC. That's why. Nothing new. Michigan might actually beat Oklahoma. Seriously, anyone with a pulse, not Baylor, would be beating the Sooners really bad. Jalen Hurts isn't doing all that great. No, he's not. Temple. SEC used to play in the Rose a lot more back before 1946. Yes, before the contract signed between the Pac-8 and the Big Ten. All right, Oklahoma down to the 11, a big 3rd and 8 play. Jalen Hurts keeps it, and he's getting pushed toward the first down marker. So Oklahoma has a decision to make, down 3, 8 minutes left in the 3rd quarter, 4th and 2. Nothing new. Yes, I agree. Big 12 or Big 10 and Pac-12 in the Rose. McD, I personally think you have to be 8-4 to get into a bowl game. Okay. Pac-12 has the best record against the ACC, but we basically never get conference matchups. This kid, this freshman here, has not missed a kick this year. He is now 16 for 16. 16 for 16. Gabe Burkick. Kyle Pickett, Mark, which commercials are best? Fansville or All-State Mayhem? That's a great debate. Love both of them. The one where the chick comes to the guy that's apparently her boyfriend and he's running the grill and she went to the other grill and he can smell it on her breath and he throws a fit about, these are genuine. Yeah, that's funny. All the Fansville, like with the baby, who does the baby belong to because his state stinks. Oh, yeah. I'm all in on the Fansville and the All-State Mayhem. That guy, they get weaker. This is typically what happens is somebody comes up with a great idea. They produce, the progressive, what's her name that wears all white? Can't think of her name. Flo. All those commercial of that brand, when somebody can build a brand and then it becomes the 2 Sonic guys. I like them. But the problem is you put all, just like TV series, you put all of your best material out there first, and then you lose something at some point and becomes a bit too much and you jump the shark. I think some of those have possibly jumped the shark. Maybe the All-State Mayhem guys jumped the shark. But those, I love just the concept that somebody came up with of this guy portraying, nature or mishaps, personifying that. It's just hilarious. The concept is hilarious. It's great. It's a good question, Kyle. Okra Joe, in the playoff era, these conference championships are just wasted games. Okay. Okra Joe, I appreciate all of your comments, but I'm not understanding how these are wasted games. I'm trying to think when one of them has been a wasted game. The first time that we see a team make a conference championship game like LSU might do this year, Ohio State might do this year, and lose and still make the playoff, that will be a wasted game. Except in the case of Georgia, where that will push them into the college football playoff. I don't see where these are wasted games. I miss Larry too, the Dr. Pepper guy. Hilarious. All right. Nate's got an important question. Mark, I have an important question. Or Jim Harbaugh, if he gets fired, who should take his place? Oh boy, let's tackle that in the offseason. Who should be the next Michigan coach? Well, it should be Jim Harbaugh right now. He's not going to get fired. He would have gotten fired the day after the Ohio State game if he was going to get fired. If I was running the show, he would get one more season. He needs to win the Big Ten championship. All right, Baylor's got the ball. 8 minutes left in the third quarter. When it starts to get serious here, we will check out. And again, I'll be here all day. My opinion, the Rose Bowl is the most beautiful setting. Yes, absolutely. Beautiful. I actually believe, for me, the most beautiful, picturesque setting in college football, stadium and uniforms combined, would be USC versus UCLA at the Rose Bowl. So Baylor's got 2nd and 10 with Bohannon running the show. He's got a funny throwing motion. He just kind of cocks it back. But it has been fairly effective. Not on that throw. That was a bad throw. Oh, we've got FAU and UAB already playing, and Florida Atlantic leads 14-3 over the Blazers. Yeah, Nate's got it right there. Seth, yes, Mike Norvell's an excellent coach. I have similar thoughts about him that I did when Justin Fuente got the Virginia Tech job, which indicated it was a good hire after 2 seasons and then not such a good hire for the next season and a half. And now Virginia Tech has bounced back against a weak schedule, but bounced back. But Mike Norvell is an offensive guy that should finally fix things at FSU. I think he's capable. I don't know if this is going to be a home run hire, but he's capable. I would be shocked, surprised, if Mike Norvell did not have significantly more success than Willie Taggart. Mike Norvell should go 8-4 next year. And if he doesn't, I wouldn't be that alarmed, as long as the team looks more prepared than it did under Willie Taggart in 2018 and then 2019. The Willie Taggart performance in 21 games was dismal. Florida State played about 3 to 4 decent games and no good games during that time. All right, everyone, I appreciate you stopping by. Let's enjoy the second half of the Big 12 championship game. We only have 26 on the line, so obviously people are watching football. So let's get to it. I will be back with my instant analysis of Baylor, Oklahoma. the SEC championship game, the Big Ten championship game. Keep the notifications on so you know when we're coming on, and I will let you know. Thank you so much for joining, and we will see you soon.